Ja, einen wunderschönen guten Nachmittag an alle Kolleginnen und Kollegen. Ja, ich freue mich sehr, dass Sie heute an unserem Webinar teilnehmt. Es geht um das Thema Expo und wie ihr schon seht, Expo 2020 hat den Namen behalten, hat den Namen nicht verändert. Und das große Spektakel, diese einzigartige Weltausstellung, wird uns heute etwas näher gebracht mit all den Möglichkeiten. Mein Name ist Claudia Majunke. Und ich führe und leite und besitze die gleichnamige Agentur. Viele von euch kennen mich. Dann hier mit im Bild ist meine Kollegin Desiree Brandscheid.
Schönen guten Tag.
Desiree Brandscheid ist bei uns der Sales Manager und ich freue mich wirklich sehr, dass ich heute zwei Kollegen aus Dubai mit zugeschaltet habe. Zum einen möchte ich vorstellen Mark Grossfield. Er ist Country Manager for Europe. Good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, Claudia. How are you?
Good, thank you. Und er ist natürlich der Expo-Experte und er wird euch heute auch erklären, was denn alles so in der Expo, was es bei der Expo zu entdecken gibt, welche Möglichkeiten man hat, welche Venues es geben wird und welche Varianten es gibt. Dann natürlich auch ein herzliches Willkommen an meinen Kollegen Joshua Edwards. Good afternoon, Joshua.
Good afternoon, Claudia. How are you?
Good, thank you. Joshua ist bei Travco, unserer Agentur, die wir in den UAE vertreten oder die wir für die UAE vertreten, verantwortlich für das Mai-Segment. Und wir haben natürlich auch, Expo ist ein Teil einer Mais-Reise oder einer Gruppenreise in die UAE. Und deswegen haben wir natürlich auch den Kollegen mit reingebracht und schlagen euch dann auch gleich nochmal ein paar Hotels vor, die relativ nah, die wir empfehlen würden, die zum Expo-Gelände reichen. Ein paar Aktivitäten noch. Viele kennt ihr, manche kennen sie nicht. Wir haben das Ganze jetzt mal ein bisschen auf ausgefallene Events nochmal festgelegt. Und dann haben wir eben auch noch ein kleines Video zu Dubai. Und ja, und dann hoffen wir, dass wir alle auch die Expo 2021 besuchen können. Und ich hatte gerade eben in unserem Vorgespräch die beiden Herren auch nochmal gebeten, ein Wort zu den Stornierungsgebühren zu sagen. Also wenn wir heute buchen für eine Gruppe, für eine Incentive, wie sieht die Situation aus, wenn Corona wieder überhand nimmt, obwohl wir das gar nicht alles wollen. Yeah, so then it's time for me to hand over to Mark Grossfield. Mark, all the floor is yours, and all the others can turn off the camera meanwhile, while Mark is presenting. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Claudia, and it's a pleasure to be speaking today. Guten Tag, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. And my name is Mark Grossfield, and I represent Expo 2020. And today's presentation will be giving you an overview of the product of the Expo, and I'll be hopefully inspiring you to book lots of bookings to visit. As you can see in the slide, we're opening from the 1st of October, so it's just under 200 days to go, and we're very excited to be opening our doors in a few months' time. Just to give you a bit of context about the Expo, I always like to start with a timeline. So the first one actually took place in 1851, so they've been going on for a very long time, in fact, over 150 odd years. Expos are synonymous with unveiling technology. They're about celebrating human ingenuity, technology, but also it's just a platform for the world to come together and meet and exchange ideas. They're very synonymous with unveiling technology. So some of the expos in the past have unveiled things such as the typewriter, the mobile phone, the robotics. So I'm sure you will get to see some new inventions and some new exciting technology if you come to this expo. And of course, this expo is huge. It's a mega event, and it's actually bigger in size than the Olympics or the FIFA World Cup. So this expos last for a duration of 6 months, whereas other mega events are for a shorter period of time. If we could go on to the next slide, please. So just some key takeaways. So this is quite a unique expo because there's been several that have been all around the world, even in Germany, but this is the first one to ever be held in the MEASA region. So the first time in the Middle East, South Asia and Africa region. So we're very proud to have it here in Dubai. We have 190 odd countries that will be participating. This is a world record in terms of previous expo participation. We actually have 2 pavilions from Germany participating. One is the German pavilion, and the other is Baden-Württemberg. So they will have two pavilions showcasing the very best of what they have on offer. And then, of course, as I said earlier, it's not a short event. It's for 6 months, so we have 182 days of programming. If we go on to the next slide, fantastic. So this slide here is actually just a render of what the site would look like. So, of course, we're opening in October. The site, from a construction point of view, is pretty much all built. We have a few countries that are still building their pavilions, but I would say by the summer, so early July, everything should be done. But just to give you a context of what the site is about, we have these three colored districts you can see there. Each represent a theme. So we have opportunity in the orange, we have mobility in the blue, and we have sustainability in the green. So out of the 190 countries, each will select a district where they want to have their pavilion. So India could be in, for example, the opportunity pavilion, Germany will be in the mobility, and so on and so forth. And the actual site itself is huge. I mean, it's around 600 football pitches, and it's probably double the size of Monaco. So it's a very, very big site. And of course, this is something that we want visitors to experience more than once. You can't come just for one day. You have to come at least 3 days. To really experience the full programming. What we've done now is actually open up the site to the general public. So we've created what we call, or we've launched our premiere. So from the 22nd of January up until the 10th of April, we're giving the general public a sneak peek of what the site is going to look like. So any visitor that is coming into the destination or the domestic market have actually seen and visited the Expo site. And I think this is important because this sends a really positive message to the world to say that the destination is ready to experience, to welcome visitors, and so is Expo. And I think this is reflected in all the vaccination efforts that the destination has done. I'm sure we'll talk about that later when Joshua speaks about all the health and safety. But here we've got some really good imagery, as you can see. So this is actually live images that are taken from the Expo site. At the top, we have our Terra Pavilion. So you go through the sea of consumption. So the journey is about you going under the ocean or through the forest and learning about your footprint on the environment. But we also have at the bottom our Mobility Pavilion, which is all about future and tech. And some of those figures or models you can see in the bottom photo are designed by some really famous set designers from blockbuster movies like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Star Trek. So the experience is going to be incredibly rich. On the next slide, we have a short video, which I'll show you. If you just want to move on to the next slide. Yep. Oh, that's my face. So this video will just show some footage of what the Expo. Yes?
Maybe you can turn off your webcam. That would be awesome. So
okay.
Yeah. The video is coming, don't worry.
Yeah.
Fantastic. There you go. Fantastic. Okay, so we're back now. So that video was just a really short clip of what the actual Expo site is looking like. As I'm sure you can probably agree with me, it's going to be a massive spectacle. I mean, we have Al Wasl Plaza, which was that 360 projection dome. We have all the amazing architecture on the site, which is incredibly futuristic. And I'll go on to talk about that a little bit later. This slide actually just tells you a little bit about the logistics. So Expo is located in an area called Dubai South. So for those that haven't been to Dubai or are not familiar with this area, it's about 15 minutes away from the new airport, which is DWC Al Maktoum. It's only about a 15-minute metro to the Dubai Marina, and it's about a 45-minute travel period from DXB. So it's pretty much in the heart of Dubai, or very close to all the kind of the key tourist hotspots. We have a dedicated metro line, which I mentioned just now, which is built for the Expo. And more importantly, if you have an Expo ticket, we also have what we call Expo riders. So these are some buses that will be located at key strategic locations around the destination. So maybe at the airport, Dubai Mall, among other areas. And if you have an Expo ticket, you can jump on the rider for free, and it will take you to the Expo site. But as I say, it's very conveniently located. And also, interestingly, it's approximately halfway between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. So if you have any guests that are visiting Abu Dhabi, it's also a nice proposition to build that in. It's not just a Dubai proposition. If we can go on to the next slide, please. So this is an important slide because there's a lot of misconception of who Expo is actually for. And the short answer is Expo is for everyone. So we are very much a leisure business event. I mean, from a leisure segment, we very much want to promote all the amazing entertainment, all the amazing programming, very much for families, couples, and friends. But then again, the programming lends itself very much to the business audience. So we're trying to see if we can target any incentive groups. We have a Dubai exhibition center which can host any sort of MICE activity, conferences, exhibitions. And we're very much working closely with the business community to try and drive some visitation to the Expo site. Those are the two segments, but then we also have a third one, which is actually the educational segment. So we're going after potential students, universities and schools. So we've created itineraries for all of these free visitor groups. So if you're interested in selling it to leisure, we have itineraries for that. We also have it for business, and we have it for education. If we could go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So during the course of the 6 months, we're going to be having a very diverse programming calendar. So every day we should be having around 60 live events a day. And in addition to that, these events will be anything from A-list celebrity performances, so big headline acts, from Hollywood, Bollywood, to K-pop, Korean artists. We're bringing all the world's leading artists, from the Rihannas of the world, the Beyoncés, to classical opera, to theater. There will be something for everyone. We also have a huge gastronomic experience around food and beverage. So we have various different activities and experiences. The site will be fully licensed, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the actual program itself, in terms of the events calendar, will be available next month. So when that is available, we will share it with Travco and the team, and this will be shared with you. On to the next slide, please. So in addition to the events calendar or the program calendar that will be available next month, we already have some dates that are confirmed. So we have what we call special days. So we already know on the 4th and 6th of November, the whole site will be celebrating Diwali. So the whole Expo site will be turned into the Festival of Lights. We're also doing something around Christmas. So there'll be lots of Christmas markets, there'll be Christmas celebrations, there'll be something around Lunar New Year, Mother's Day, as well as the Golden Jubilee. If we go on to the next slide. So in addition to these special days, we also have what we call thematic weeks and international days. So this is also very interesting to businesses and corporates in terms of pitching to specific industries. So if you have a client that is specifically in, say, a sustainability or biodiversity or anything to do with the sort of the environment, you could promote the Climate Biodiversity Week. We also have something on space. We also have something on food and agriculture. So you can then actually package and bundle according to these thematic weeks. And furthermore, we also have some international days, which are all about, food. It could be about wildlife. It could be about women's rights. And we also will be releasing our country national days. So out of the 190 countries, each country has a national day. So Germany will have one, Switzerland will have one, Brazil will have one, and you can imagine this is the chance for the country to showcase the very best of what they have. So in the case of Brazil, they might be doing their National Day celebration all about the Rio Carnival Festival. Now, these are some of the images related to the country pavilions. These are all renders, but as I say, a lot of these have already been built at the site, but it just gives you an overview or a preview of what the pavilions are going to look like. And I'm sure you can all tell they're very different, each individually, but they're very futuristic and quite impressive. If we move on to the next slide. So this is the actual German pavilion. So Germany's pavilion is actually a 3-story high pavilion, and it's going to be probably one of the largest on the site. If I'm not mistaken, the German federal budget set aside for building this was circa about 50 million euros. So a lot of money has been spent because, of course, it's going to be using the latest technology and innovation deployed within it. And the actual theme of the German pavilion is called Campus Germany. So it's all based on a learning journey. So visitors will be enrolled through the campus, and they will be given the opportunity to go on different journeys to the respective labs. So we have a lab on energy, we have a lab on the future cities, and one around biodiversity. There will also be a performance stage providing a lot of cultural entertainment. And in addition, we also have, a lot of companies and businesses that will be showcasing their offerings. The likes of Siemens and SAP, 2 German flagship brands will be there. And we also have Baden-Württemberg, which I mentioned earlier, which will have a pavilion. And their pavilion will, of course, showcase, the very best of what that region has to offer. Now, moving on in terms of the programming, what is available for business? So if we go on to the next slide. So no matter if we're going after direct corporates, so the likes of German SMEs or blue chips, or if we're going to any of the associations, we have a wealth of different programming available. So business activities from thought leaderships, TED Talks. So we're actually at the moment looking at who we can bring to the Expo to do some of these seminars and these TED Talks. It could be potentially the likes of Elon Musk talking about intergalactic space travel, or the new technology from Nissan and bringing their CEO to talk about autonomous cars and all these various different business leaders. We also will be hosting team activities on the site, so you can bring your groups and they can do workshops around cooking, treasure hunts, technology-based sessions, and of course we have social events. So we have some really great venues that will host some gala dinners, some cocktail receptions. Even if you're a company wanting to do a product launch, the Expo site will be a great new venue for you. And in terms of those venues, if you go on to the next slide. Fantastic. So we actually have 2 venues on the site. So we have this Dubai Exhibition Center, which I mentioned earlier. So it's a 45,000 square meter space, and it's got a variety of different functional rooms. In fact, around 24 meeting rooms, and we have suites and various different spaces. But this is a great space if you want to host a conference or an exhibition. And we also already have a lot of confirmed exhibitions which we can share with you. So if you're an industry interested in maritime, we will be doing a maritime conference, for example. And of course, lastly, we have our 2020 Club by EMAR. EMAR is our hospitality partner, but they're also the partner who will be only having the one hotel on the site. So we have a 4-star category Rove hotel managed by EMAR, but we also have the 2020 Club, which can host some cocktail receptions and various different other functions. So if you're more interested in this, we can also support for any inquiries. And then lastly, from a student audience, we have actually designed different itineraries according to subject matters. So if you go on to the next slide. And these itineraries are actually quite relevant for the business community. So we've created these 7 journeys. So if you're a student interested in studying engineering and construction, we've then created a guided tour specifically around that subject. But of course, if you're a business and you're interested, if you're a construction business in Germany, it may be well worth you then bringing your group or your employees for an incentive trip, but also doing one of these engineering and construction tours. So we've done all the hard work for you, and we've actually, as I say, created these itineraries. If we want to go on to the next slide. Fantastic. So I talked about these itineraries, and I'm just going to showcase a few for this presentation so you get to see what they look like. Okay, on to the next slide, please. So we've actually created sort of 3 categories of itineraries. One specifically targeting the leisure segment. So we've done an Expo Essentials. So this really highlights all the must things you need to do when you're at the Expo site. We've also then tailored it according to demographics. So if you're a family coming or if you're a couple, but we've also then highlighted specific industries. So if it's around architecture, if it's around automobile, what would be that journey? And then we've also done it on passion pillars. So if you're a food lover and you really are interested in food, what would be the best journey for you? Or if you're interested in health and wellness, what could you do? And then we've done this respectively for the business, as I say. So we've targeted sectors, and then we've done it for the youth, which I highlighted earlier, which is the different educational journeys. Now, if we go on to the next slide, I'll showcase this in a little bit more detail. So this is actually one of the indicative itineraries for the Expo Architecture and Design. So as I said earlier, the pavilions are incredibly futuristic, and they're designed by some of the leading architects from around the world. We have architects that have designed Apple's HQ to the Valencia Opera House. I mean, we're talking Fosters and Partners, we're talking Santiago Calatrava. As you can see in number 7, that is actually the UAE pavilion. So it's designed to replicate the UAE national bird, which is the falcon. And the really unique, cool selling point about this building is it actually moves. So it's a moving building, and the wings actually rise according to the solar energy that is reflected on it. So there's all this amazing technology used on the architecture. But this just gives you a sort of a broad visitor experience, and then you can actually go out to your clients and pitch this and sell it. If we go on to the next slide. This so happens to be about foodies. So we are creating some really immersive experiences. So of course, I mentioned earlier, food is a big thing about Expo. So we will have a variety of different offering, from food trucks to street food to Michelin star chefs. So we're actually getting Michelin star chefs to create a lot of different cuisines on the site. But there'll be some really immersive experiences, from virtual reality dining to trying astronaut food, to even trying something like camel ice cream. There's something literally for everyone. And in addition, we've also partnered up with MasterChef to create a really amazing, unique dining concept around that. But this just gives you some of the flavors or some of the experiences that you could do if you were interested in food. And then last but by no means least, we've created one for techies and innovators, which of course showcases all the technology and the future of innovation. It could be going to the mobility pavilion and perhaps seeing all the latest technology around drones and robotics. It could be going to Nissan's pavilion and learning about, as I say, their autonomous cars. There's many different things that can be seen at the site. And of course, as I said before in the presentation, expos are very synonymous with unveiling new inventions. So I'm sure you'll get to see some new things for the very first time. Okay, if we could just move on to the next slide. Fantastic. So I often get this question, what happens after March 31st, 2022? Because it's only a 6-month event. There's a lot of investment into this. Well, the legacy is actually called District 2020. So after March 31st, 2022, the site will end in terms of event operation, and it will be turned into a mixed-use commercial and residential hub. So it's actually in line with the destinations initiatives in terms of creating a smart city. So we will have what we call District 2020, and there will be an ecosystem for startups. There's a lot of corporates that have already announced they're moving their operations. For example, Siemens have already confirmed they're moving their global logistics hub to the Expo site after the Expo event. And if we go on to the next slide, some of the assets or the architecture of the pavilions will be maintained. So you can see here the sustainability pavilion will actually be transformed into a children's museum. The mobility will have a lot of offices, and it will house a lot of these corporates. Al-Wasl Plaza, which is one of our big entertainment spaces, will be again be repurposed as a concerts venue. And the Dubai Exhibition Centre will also be continued to be used in collaboration or in parallel with World Trade Center. So it will be another venue to host a lot of exhibitions and events in the future. And a lot of the country pavilions as well have also confirmed they will maintain their pavilions. So Germany hasn't announced anything, but it could potentially have a presence after the Expo. Other countries have already announced they will stay, and a lot of them will be turned into the trade and export sort of hubs. If we could go on to the next slide, please. Fantastic. So this just actually highlights some of those corporate tenants. I mentioned Siemens earlier, but we also have some other partners. Fantastic. If we could just go on to the next slide. Wonderful. So this just gives you an overview now. Hopefully you've got a better idea of the product proposition and what Expo is all about. But in terms of our marketing and our efforts in the German market, Germany still remains a very important tier 1 market for us, and we will be launching our tickets in due course. So the fulfillment, of course, Travco will be an authorized ticket reseller, and you will be able to go via them to source the tickets. But we will be releasing or going live probably in May, so in mid-May, and our campaigns will actually be launched following that. So you'll get to see a lot of Expo promotion in the market through social and digital channels, but also some offline touch points, including radio and TV. So we're very excited about that. And of course, as I said, with 200 less days to go, we are very keen to get the German market up to speed in terms of the Expo, and of course booking it. This just showcases some of the initiatives that we've done. If we can skip this slide. Okay, so how do we work with partners in the market? So of course, with Travco being an authorized ticket reseller, their subcontractors are welcome to get some support from us. So we work with them on joint marketing. So we actually have some marketing budget to put behind the promotion. We can look at some specific campaigns with you. We're happy to do any training and webinars similar to this. So if your sales team need it or any of your clients need some training, we can be available. We also have the opportunity for you to come to the site. So there's a lot of familiarization trips which we're offering. And of course, on the product development side, we very much want to make sure that Expo is packaged and sold to your clients, and they're aware of all the various different itineraries and program available. One question I'm sure you're probably all wondering is how much and what are the tickets? So we have 2 ticket categories at the moment which would be most relevant for you. We have a 1-day ticket and we have a 3-day ticket. And the 1-day ticket is approximately 27 euros and the 3-day ticket is approximately 54 euros. And in terms of our other efforts in the German market, of course, I mentioned earlier, we've got our B2C campaign running. We're also working with trade operators on co-op marketing, but we also want to tap into the Meister student segment. So this is where we're leveraging Campus Germany, as well as the Chambers of Commerce, as well as Travco, Dubai business events. And we very much want to work with everyone in order to try and drive business visitation to the Expo site. Fantastic. So that actually brings me on to my last slide, which is actually our contact details. I'm sure you all have lots of questions, so I'm going to check with Claudia if we want to answer them now or if we want to wait till the very end. And I've got also a few other things. I know you wanted me to talk about the health and safety measures, as well as a few other things, the cancellation of the ticket. So you let me know when is the right time. I'm happy to speak about it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mark. Really impressive. Ich denke, Sie oder ihr seid alle der gleichen Meinung. Dieses Event ist wirklich absolut einzigartig und vielseitig. Und ich habe erst gestern mit einem Kunden gesprochen, der heute auch hier ist, ob man nun einen Tag wohl genug wäre für die Expo. Und ich glaube, die Antwort ist jetzt auch gegeben, dass man schon mehr als einen Tag die Expo besuchen sollte. Wir können gerne jetzt die Runde für Fragen öffnen. Beziehungsweise ich würde euch bitten, ich sehe jetzt im Moment noch keine Frage, ihr könnt es in den Chat respektive in Fragen reinschreiben, dann kommen die Fragen bei uns durch oder aber auch natürlich im Anschluss gerne eine E-Mail an uns mit den weiteren Fragen, die wir dann auch gerne schriftlich beantworten. I'm just checking, Mark, if there are any questions at the moment, and I've opened up the discussion. We have this section that's called questions, and everybody can enter their questions there. Wir können aber auch gerne im Anschluss dann die Fragen nochmal beantworten, wenn Travco noch ihren Teil als DMC für uns hier beantwortet. Joshua, are you ready to go? Can you turn on your camera? And,
Yes.
Fantastic. So Joshua, here he is. Und nein, you've turned on now.
Sorry.
We've got you. Ja. Also solange ihr noch überlegt, welche Fragen ihr habt für uns, dann bitte einfach jetzt nochmal Joshua zuhören, solange er die Präsentation macht. Ein paar Ideen. Wir haben jetzt auf die ganzen Einreiseprotokolle und wie das alles funktioniert, haben wir jetzt verzichtet, denn ich denke, viele von euch kennen Dubai. Wir wissen auch, dass sich Einreiseprotokolle immer wieder ändern können. Sie sind ja auch hinterlegt und können jederzeit bei uns auch schriftlich abgefragt werden. Wir wollten einfach auch die Highlights nochmal hinweisen, die Dubai zu bieten hat, welche Hotels wir empfehlen und welche Locations im Moment in sind, um abends dann nochmal Events zu machen außerhalb der Expo, anstatt heute in die klassischen Dinge reingehen. Also wir haben auch keine, soweit ich weiß, haben wir auch keine Stadtrundfahrt Dubai in unserer Präsentation heute mit drin. Yeah, Joshua, I just said that, you know, we skipped all the protocols and everything, you know, for Dubai, entering Dubai, because, I mean, we know all that and they can change anyway all the time, and that we were focusing on the overall, you know, impressions on Dubai. So over to you. Und dann viel Spaß. Jetzt eine Runde mit Joshua von Travco UAE. Vielen Dank.
Thank you, Claudia. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joshua. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this seminar, and we do hope that your family are in good health. I'm going to take a few minutes to introduce Travco UAE. Travco is a reputed company established in 1996 with over 2 decades of tourism knowledge in Oman and UAE. Being part of the TUI family, which is one of the largest tourism companies in German-speaking areas of Europe, we have a huge influx of German-speaking support staff who understands the essence and the handling of German groups. Our key units are incentives and conferences, leisure and cruises. On the cruise side, we deal with Hapag-Lloyd, TUI, and Crystal Cruises, to name a few. Our front team are multilingual field staff, which includes airport reps, guides, and safari staff. At Travco, we have our own fleet of transport vehicles, safari vehicles, and have our own campsite located at the Dubai Desert Conservation Reserve, which is protected by the government of Dubai. So, next slide. Dubai is placed between Abu Dhabi and Sharjah in the UAE with a population of 3.31 million people. Abu Dhabi for the moment is closed due to the coronavirus, but hopefully by early May, they should be opened and remove the restrictions. One fact of Dubai, in 2020, the total number of 5-star hotels in the Dubai is 134, and the hotel rooms is 44067. Dubai is easily accessible with about 60 airlines that link up to 161 cities worldwide. UAE is the central hub connecting East and the West, and with guests traveling from San Francisco to the east and Auckland to the west, approximately 17 hours non-stop. Period of travel in the UAE is between mid-September to mid-May, where temperatures are between 20 degrees in December, Jan, Feb, March, and April, whereas during the hotter months in September and October and May, the temperatures will reach about 36 degrees. Next slide. Now we're talking about the experiences. The experience that we're talking about are the new experience that we have done right now. The first one is the Spice Souk Rally. Spice Souk Rally is an extension of Dubai City Tour. The Souk Rally gets the guests to step into local culture and have the chance to interact with local residents, and is issues of more competitive spirit amongst everyone. Guests would be split into teams prior to them leaving the hotel. Go back. with the hotel for the tour. After the local water boat ride to the spice souk, guests are given a piece of paper with 12 to 15 spices written in Arabic. Guests would need to first translate the names and get the quantity offered on the list. Each team would have some money to spend on spices and haggle with the shop owner and get the quantity at a cheaper rate. Once this has been done, they can go to the gold souk and meet a marshal who will collect the items to mark on whether the items have been accounted and how much each team has spent. After this, they can spend their time at leisure at the souk. Next slide. Supercar drives. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Porsches, McLarens are the vehicles that can be driven for this activity. These vehicles will arrive at the hotel, and after some formalities, guests would get to drive the vehicle outside the city limits. Each vehicle can take 2 guests, and the normal driving time for each vehicle will be 4 to 8 hours, and there's a marshal in the front and the back of the whole convoy. Each car will have a walkie-talkie to communicate with each other, and since it's a full day activity, lunch is also available. Next slide. Camel polo, another team building activity which bond each other and also has a more competitive spirit, is the camel polo. Guests arrive at the venue and given an orientation of how polo is played by the instructor, and after the brief on how to ride and steer the camel, guests would be split into teams and will battle it out in a team sport. The duration of the activity would be approximately 3 to 4 hours from the beginning to playing and finishing the game. Middle Eastern cooking. Guests with a chef would visit the local fish and vegetable souk to purchase key ingredients for their food and food preparation. Each team would be given some money to bargain with the vegetable and fish seller. Once everyone has gotten the ingredients, they will return to the hotel to prepare the dish with the assistance of the chef. Each participant would wash, clean, cut each ingredient, cook together under the guidance of the chef, and at the end, they would taste the preparation and be rated by the chef on how each team had prepared the dishes. Next slide. Zip lining at the Dubai Marina. Located at Dubai Marina, the zip line is about 1 kilometer long, and guests can travel up to 80 kilometers per hour. The X-Line Dubai is the world's largest urban zip line, which can take to 1 to 2 guests at any given time, as they have 2 zip lines next to each other. Next. Skydiving. Guests arrive at the venue and are measured for the height and the weight. They are given a briefing of safety precaution before they put on the overalls and parachute and take off in a plane. Once they're at 13,000 feet, they jump off with a tandem diver, and once they're at 6,000 feet, they release the parachute, and the view from the top of the bush of the Palm Jumeirah is perfect. The desert. The desert activity is a must-do activity and it's unique in Dubai. The jeeps arrive at the hotel in the afternoon. Each jeep is numbered and has water. All the jeeps have roll cages, which is mandatory from Dubai tourism for safety reasons. All the drivers and vehicles are DTCM certified, and we recommend 4 guests per jeep for comfort. All safari vehicles are Travco owned, so we are price sensitive and can add value to the activity. Guests would depart in a convoy led by the lead vehicle and the backup vehicle and drive 45 minutes to the edge of the desert. After deflation, guests experience dune bashing for 30 minutes, after which they would arrive at the sunset stop. The sunset bar is a canopy draped with Arabic carpets and cushions, with service staff serving guests with champagne and sparkling wine. At the Sunset Bar, guests would be treated to a falcon show where the falconer would introduce the falcon to the guest and have the falcon fly for some exercise while baiting the falcon for some exercise while the whole presentation would take approximately 15 to 20 minutes. Other entertainment at the Sunset Bar includes oud player, which is the Arabic string instrument, a violinist, and a harpist. After this, can you go back? Can we go back? After the Sunset Bar, guests are transferred to the campsite by four-wheel drives. Our campsites are built using old palm tree leaves tied together to make a more rustic look to the campsite. However, we have the modern toilets in the premises, outside the premises. Guests would enter the campsite and are greeted by service staff holding glasses of beers and house wines and cold and hot towels. Next to them, there's a person making them Arabic breads and also offer guests with traditional coffee and dates. At the campsite, we have low table seats and Arabic cushions with service staff catering to each table. For the dinner, we normally have a 5-star caterers, but we can also get 3 stars, 4 stars caterers in case the budget is meant for it. Activities would be camel rides, sandboarding, henna painting, and shisha, and the entertainment of the night would be tanura dancers and belly dancers. Other entertainment that we have had at the campsite includes 5-piece Arabic bands as well as a DJ. After the activity, guests return back to the hotel by four-wheel drives. Next slide. The hotels that we have included shows different 5-star setup. It includes Radisson, which is a city property, and the distance to the Expo is 33 kilometers, and the driving time is about approximately 30 minutes. The Crown Plaza Dubai Marina is located at the Dubai Marina and has a distance to the Expo of 18 kilometers, and the driving time is about 15 minutes. Then we have the Sofitel JBR, which is a beachfront hotel, and it's located at the Jumeirah Beach Residence, and the distance to the Expo is 19 kilometers, and the driving time is about 26 minutes. And lastly, Andaz Dubai The Palm, located at the Palm Jumeirah, has a distance to the Expo 2020 of 26 kilometers, and the driving time is 22 minutes. What we want to show here is the distance of all the hotels within the Expo sites. There's a variety of 5 and 4-star hotels that's for everyone's budget. The meal venues. The first meal venue is the Dinner in the Sky. Selected by Forbes.com is a list of 10 most unusual restaurants in the world. Dinner in the Sky is one of the most unique dining experiences one can have. A table of 22 can be suspended 50 meters high in the sky while you indulge in a unique scenery and a 3-course menu. Clients have the options to have either lunch, afternoon tea, and dinner at the venue. Noor, the venue at Fairmont Dubai offers a unique take on dining in the dark. The whole experience is approximately 90 minutes from start to finish, with waiters wearing night goggles to serve the guest. The goal is to heighten your 4 remaining senses, allowing a greater appreciation for the food. The next slide. Ein Dubai. Ein Dubai is about 250 meters in height and 210 meters in diameter. It's one of the largest Ferris wheels in the world. With the capacity to accommodate 1,400 guests at any given time, it takes approximately 45 minutes to do a full rotation. There are 47 pods, out of which 12 pods will have a dining setup and 6 pods will have a bar setup. And each pod measures up to 30 square meters. Hell's Kitchen. Hell's Kitchen is basically done by Gordon Ramsay based on his TV reality cooking series. They serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This famous restaurant is based out of Las Vegas, and can seat about 300 guests. Next. La Pearl Show and dinner at Babiola Hilton Hub the City. Guests would have the opportunity to see a spectacular Cirque du Soleil type show from Franco Dragon named La Pearl. This is the 90-minute show, which happens during 5 times a week and can seat about 1,300 people. The show is about a young girl who falls into a dreamlike state and travels to the UAE in search of a lost pearl. During her journey, she comes across people from completely different worlds and cultures, which showcases the cultural diversity of the UAE. At the same hotel, after the show, guests have the opportunity to dine at the Babiola, a Mediterranean restaurant on the 44th floor with a spectacular view of Dubai in the night. Next one. And lastly, Oceano. Oceano is at the Atlantis de Palm, the seafood restaurant, which is also an underwater restaurant. This restaurant can seat about 84 people and has a floor-to-ceiling view into one of the biggest aquariums in the world. You can also do private branding of having a diver come down with a message or logo of the company for guests to take pictures and to view. And lastly, the restaurant has won about 5 seafood awards in Dubai. Well, that's it from me. I do hope that it's going to be educational. We have a video coming up which showcases Dubai and its potential to service guests.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Thank you for taking us through some of the highlights of Dubai. Ja, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, das war es jetzt eigentlich auch für den Moment von uns. Wie gesagt, wenn es Fragen gibt, dann können die gerne in den Chat geschrieben werden und wir sind gerne bereit, dass Mark und Joshua die Fragen noch beantworten. Joshua, can you maybe say something or explain something about current booking terms and conditions for groups? We are all in this environment now with Corona, and you know, everybody is hesitant in spending money and maybe not getting the money back. How cooperative are the hotels and the suppliers from a land perspective?
Okay, I mean, most of the hotels are very flexible in terms of your COVID issues. Normally, what would happen is if a group is cancelled based on COVID, what they do is they actually either postpone the event to another date, or they might even cancel it. But depending on hotel to hotel, we have to ask them whether they can cancel the group entirely. But of course, they are flexible in what they do.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, in terms of other services, we can of course cancel it whenever we have to, based on the COVID. But we have to prove to them that there is a COVID issue, that we need to show them a certificate or some sort of letter saying that based on this, people can't come, and they would be flexible on canceling it.
Okay, thank you, Joshua. So, also wie ihr seht, ist alles Verhandlungssache. Man kann also auch generell sagen, dass natürlich bei Buchung diese Details nochmal schriftlich aufgeführt werden und natürlich auch bei der Planung. Eine gute Sache bei unserer Agentur Travco ist, dass ein Manager den kompletten File von Anfang bis Ende betreut, und dann geht es noch mit in die Operation mit rein. Da steht da auch immer noch Standby mit dabei. Travco hat sehr gute deutschsprachige Guides auch, und wie ihr alle wisst, Travco ist eben auch in Oman zu Hause. Das wird jetzt seltener für Incentives in Frage kommen, aber eine Kombination Dubai-Oman kann man natürlich auch machen, falls das gewünscht ist, wenn man sagt, okay, wir würden gerne die Expo machen, aber wir haben schon so viele Reisen angeboten gehabt auf die Expo, dass wir eben auch diese Kombination eher anstreben. Ja, in diesem Sinne sage ich erstmal vielen Dank. Thank you very much for Joshua for presenting Travco. Thank you very much, Mark, for giving us this really exciting presentation about the Expo. If there are some questions coming through, Mark, I will forward them to you so you can answer.
I have one more question.
Oh, there's one question coming. Oh,
I think it's for Mark. Will there be VIP tickets and fast lanes at the Expo?
It's a good question. So we are looking at a hospitality sort of VIP ticket. Yes, that will have sort of inclusions to the EMA 2020 Club Lounge. There'll be the add-ons in terms of the fast track. But yeah, fast track also is available to buy. The unique thing about this expo is actually it's been designed in such a way to actually help with the queuing. We've also got technology on the site which will tell you if a particular pavilion is busy, to then avoid it and to go to another one which is close. But if visitors wanted to, they can buy it.
Thank you.
Noch irgendwelche anderen Fragen, Desiree? Das war's. Also wir sind ja nicht aus der Welt, wir sind ja nur eine E-Mail away, wie man so schön sagt. But thanks again to Dubai for making your time available. Vielen Dank natürlich an euch alle. Ich verabschiede mich an dieser Stelle. Wir haben zum Schluss aber noch einen hübschen Video von Travco. Vielleicht einfach, wenn man noch mal so ein bisschen in Stimmung kommen will, das Bekannte noch mal sehen möchte. Also wie gesagt, nochmal vielen Dank. Genießt den Video and bye bye to everybody from my end. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Die Falken dürfen wieder fliegen, die Emiraten ist wieder auf. Die Vereinigten Arabischen Emiraten verzaubert ihre Besucher aus der ganzen Welt und heißt sie alle ganz herzlich willkommen. Dubai, die Stadt der Superlative, mit ihren tollen Sehenswürdigkeiten, Museen, Inseln, Türme und Wolkenkratzer, machen ihre Türe wieder auf. Jetzt dürfen wir endlich unsere Gäste wieder empfangen. Alle notwendigen Maßnahmen wurden getan, damit sie sich sicher fühlen. Expo 2020 wird nächstes Jahr eingeweiht. Die atemberaubenden Pavillons sind schon fertig und können nächstes Jahr besichtigt werden. Burj Al Arab, das luxuriöseste Hotel, Burj Khalifa, das höchste Gebäude der Welt und die Palmeninsel sind bestimmte Hauptattraktionen, die jeden beeindrucken. Sheikh Zayed Moschee, Hauptwahrzeichen von Abu Dhabi, die Hauptstadt des Landes, das reichste Scheichtum mit seinen prachtvollen Straßen, luxuriösen Palästen und Louvre-Museum, lädt Sie ganz herzlich ein. Der Unterschied zwischen Al-Husn-Festung und dem neuesten Palast Qasr al-Watan, beide sind offizielle Sitze des Herrschers, stellt, wie sich Abu Dhabi in den letzten Jahren entwickelt hat. Die Mangroven in den arabischen Golf von Abu Dhabi geben die Wassersportliebhaber viele interessante Angebote neben anderen Möglichkeiten. Die Falknerei bleibt immer noch das beliebteste Hobby von den Einheimischen. In der Falkenklinik von Abu Dhabi werden die teuersten Falken behandelt und ihre Federn werden sogar auch ersetzt. Zu Abu Dhabi gehört Al-Ain, die Oasenstadt mitten in der Wüste, bekannt mit ihrem alten Falaj-Bewässerungssystem. Hier ist Sheikh Zayed, Begründer des Landes, geboren. Deswegen spielt diese kleine Stadt eine große Rolle im Land mit ihren berühmten Festungen, die zu Welterbe-Kulturschätzen von der UNESCO gehört. Die Museen in Sharjah, insbesondere Naturgeschichte und das Islamische Museum, hat Sharjah als die kulturelle Hauptstadt des Landes gemacht. Mit seiner islamischen Architektur, der alten Souks, die schönen Behördenhäuser mit den gigantischen Kuppels sind bestimmt ein Highlight. Unter den Emiraten ist Ras Al Khaimah zurzeit im Aufschwung, mit seiner besonderen Lage im Norden des Landes und die tollen Strände. Hier gibt es die längste Zipline der Welt auf Jabal Jis. Jabal heißt auf Arabisch Berg. Fujairah, das Emirat an der östlichen Küste mit ihren Bergen und weitläufigen Sandstränden am Indischen Ozean, verspricht ihnen absolute Entspannung. Hier wird viel getan, damit die Einheimischen ihre Kultur immer behalten. Deshalb findet man viele Perlenfarms. Perlentaucher zusammen mit Fischen war die Haupttätigkeit von den Einheimischen. Jetzt können sie selber untertauchen, um ihre eigene Perle zu erwischen. Musandam, die omanische Exklave an der Straße von Hormuz, ist bestimmt sehenswert, bekannt als die Fjorden von Arabien. Ein emiratisches Hausbesuch ist ein Muss. Hier werden Sie mitbekommen, wie Ihr Alltagsleben aussieht. Weihrauch, Rosenwasser, Rosenblätter, Mischung von Eindrücken und Gefühlen ist bestimmt ein Erlebnis. Die ausgedehnte arabische Wüste mit ihren besonderen Flora und Fauna entspannt die Augen. Die ungezählten Sanddünen bereinigen die Seele. Natur pur, volle Entspannung. Vereinigte Arabische Emiraten mit ihrer speziellen Vielfältigkeit öffnet ihre Arme für Sie. Und vielen Dank, dass Sie uns die Chance gegeben haben, die Emiraten näher zu Ihnen bringen zu dürfen.